Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here. Recently, I took a trip down to St. Louis, Missouri, and I was there for a very specific reason. I went to the Missouri Game Con, which you can see a cool little poster of right here. This was the first ever Missouri Game Con. They brought me out to this as a guest of the convention. Look at this poster, celebrity guest, YouTube star. That is so inaccurate, but thank you. It was very, very flattering. There was actually a lot of posters like that throughout like all the game stores in the area that we went to, so I kept seeing my name in print like that. It was really surreal. It was cool though. But yeah, so this was the first convention they had ever done, and basically it wasn't so much a convention as it was a game swap. So a game swap is, like you see here, it's a big room with dealer tables, and basically a lot of dealers show up and they sell video games, and I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. There were other activities, like there was a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament, and there was a tournament for the 1991 Nintendo World Championship, and stuff like that. It was cool for sure. This is at this time, of course, when you're seeing this footage, is all people setting up for the convention. Oh, misses it. Oh well. Yeah, so people had tables and they would put all sorts of stuff out. Now I was given a table. I had no idea I was going to have a table, and as you can see, I didn't really make much use of it because I didn't know what to do with it. But yeah, so I had nothing. This is Jake, by the way. He's one of the guys who brought me to the con. He was like, you know, this is the dude who's hanging around with me the most. He was really a very cool guy, or is still. It's not like he's dead or anything. But yeah, you can get swaps, man. You can get all sorts of video games for like cheap. I know what you're looking at is ironic because this is like a lot of the high-end stuff, and there is a reason that Turok Rage Wars is expensive. That is not a mistake. Yeah, no, you can game swaps are a great opportunity to get a lot of video games for a lot less money than usual because, you know, it's a good situation to haggle and everybody wants to deal in cash and, you know, that kind of thing. Really very fun. So I ended up picking up a lot of stuff. You guys are going to see it towards the end of this video. But yeah, this is right after it had opened. Now, this place was in an elk lodge. Now, that's Jake again, by the way, aka Zebular, YouTube god. Yeah, so again, this place was held in Elk Lodge. And Elk Lodge is like a place where old people congregate. What they had done is they rented out the space and they used it. This is Stephen Lucas, by the way. I'll talk more about him in a bit. But yeah, they rented out the space and they had the convention there. And there's like a rule about how you can only have 300 people in there at any given time. And they were like, well, don't worry, we'll never reach that. Oh man, they crushed it. They got to 300 like immediately, and there were people just waiting out, you know, outside the door, just constantly waiting to get in. So the point is the convention was extremely successful, and next year the plan is to have it in a bigger space, hopefully, because they absolutely killed it. It went over super amazing. But yeah, this is, like I said, Stephen Lucas. He was the 1991 Nintendo World Champion. You know, he won one of those cartridges, and he won like a trophy and stuff. Very nice guy. And I'll be talking a little bit more about him in a bit. But he also was kind of moderating the event for the 1991 Nintendo World Championship playthrough. But yeah, just a quick look at some of the video games and stuff that was on sale, because largely I didn't have that much time to shoot a lot of footage of the convention, because largely what I was doing was, you know, I was mingling with people, because there were a lot of people that came out to meet me, which was incredibly flattering. I believe a guy named Justin, I believe he drove up from Arkansas. You know, we had some people that came over that were local in the St. Louis area, some people just across the border on the Illinois side. I live in Illinois, but nowhere near that particular area that came out. I know there was a guy named Ben who came out from Kansas City. So it was really cool. A lot of people came out. I signed a lot of stuff, which was flattering. These dudes came out. These are the dudes from East St. Louis. They gave me a drink from East St. Louis. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like an orange type of drink. It was good. That's Rich. He was one of the other dudes who picked me up. He runs a podcast. Hell of a nice guy. But yeah, and this is just after the convention's closing and everybody's kind of cleaning up and putting stuff away. But yeah, man, it was extremely successful. It was really nice to meet all these people. A lot of incredibly friendly people. It was, yeah, I just had it overall. I had a really good time. So yeah, there you go. I hope I get to go again next year. But in the meantime, until then, why don't you go ahead and check out all the pickups I got. Now, before I go into the pickups I got at the con, when I was picked up by Jake and Rich, and they took me out to a couple of stores on the first day I was there. So I got a few items. The first store we went to was a place I think was called V-Stocks. It's like a chain down there. I'm not familiar with it. They had a lot of original Xbox stuff, which was nice. So I got a few off the list, but nothing special. First up was NCAA 06 March Madness. Second, NHL Hits 2002. And ESPN Winter X Games Snowboarding 2002. So again, nothing special there, but just cool stuff to get off of the list. After that, we went and we got food. We ended up getting toasted ravioli, which is the big St. Louis thing. So if you ever visit St. Louis, that's the thing you're supposed to eat. It was actually pretty good. It's basically fried, you know, ravioli. It's called toasted, but basically they just fry it. At least as far as I can tell. It was good. It was good. I had a good time. But after that, we went over to Trading Games, which is run by a guy named Jason. He has a really nice store. I didn't have time to do like a full tour of the store, so you can just, there's a quick shot of it here. You can get a sense of what it looks like. Very nice store. The owner is very, very cool. And there is something though that I did pick up from that place. It was this. It's Legends of Wrestling 2 for the OG Xbox. Again, cool thing to get off of the list. I'm just realizing now that this game has Andy Kaufman in it, which is actually pretty awesome. That's cool. But yeah, even though I didn't have time to do a store tour there. Well, the store was closing. But after Jason closed, he took us to his video game collection. Now, his video game collection is one of the biggest and most insane collections in North America. It is spectacular, for lack of a better word. Now that I got to shoot a video at, just because there was time for that, and it was great. So stay tuned. That video will be coming up at some point. It's a big tour of one of the most insane video game collections you will ever see. But yeah, you know, hoping not to hype it up too much, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, on to the convention itself. First thing I want to show you guys, because it's just neat, as you guys saw in the footage, the other guest that they brought out for this was Stephen Lucas. He was again, the 1991 Nintendo World Champion. He has like the big trophy and everything from the event. He was there, and he had these cards from Twin Galaxies that he had his autograph on. He was selling a bunch of merchandise and stuff too, you know, different video games and things. But yeah, he gave me a free card with his signature on it, which is very cool of him to do. So yeah, definitely awesome just to have that little piece of history. But on to other video games. Now right here, this whole stack of video games are all Sega Genesis reproduction carts. Now all of these were given to me for free throughout the course of the day by you know, by various people. They were like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And so all of these are either fan translated games, or they are patched games so that they're updates in some way, or in one case it's just insanity. You'll see. First up is Rent a Hero. Now again, I believe this was originally a Japanese Mega Drive game, but was translated into English, so that's cool. Same with this one, I believe. Legend of the Magic Warrior, Japanese game, translated into English. And Undead Line, same deal, again, fan translated into English. So very cool to have those. And now, this one's odd. This was an example of something where they basically did a ROM hack. This is Castlevania Bloodlines Enhanced Color Edition. Again, it's just Castlevania Bloodlines for the Genesis, but it has various updates. This one actually tells you what the updates are, so I'm going to read them. It's not the most well-written thing, to be brutally honest, but this is what it says. Modifications. All openings were thoroughly improved. Characters received new skin colors. All enemies have received more appropriate colors and better shading. The stages received a new finish and are much better. The game was 100% modified and polished. So yeah, they made a bunch of cosmetic changes to the game basically, so there you go. That's cool. And this was a gag gift when Jake first handed this to me. That's clearly why he did it, but I took it anyway. I don't care, because I think this game might actually make a good video on my other channel, Game Society Pimps. This one is a ROM hack of Double Dragon, or Battletoads Double Dragon, and it's called Butt Baby Tranny Tramps, and it has weird artwork with a guy's like dick and stuff. And there's like penises all over the back. It's totally fucking messed up. But again, I think it might be a really good video for Game Society Pimps, so we will see. Now on to things I bought at the con, basically. First up, this one was kind of surprising. This was actually very, very shocking to me, actually. Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition for the PlayStation 3. Now, if this sounds vaguely familiar, if you guys just saw Playload not too long ago, I had picked up the Xbox 360 version of this in Europe,
And I was sure that that was a European exclusive for both the 360 and the PS3. As it turns out, there was a North American PS3 release, which is this. There was no North American 360 release, so the disc I have is unfortunately region locked, the Xbox 360 one. So unless the Xbox One makes the game compatible or Microsoft drops the 360 region locks before they stop updating the 360, I can't use that disc. But this solves that problem. So there you go. Under Defeat's a really cool shmup. I have for the Dreamcast. I played it on there many times. It's a fun one, so definitely cool to have that on the PlayStation 3 for sure. I also got a couple of just random items here. I got Wario's Woods for the NES. Now the reason I got this was that it was the last North American NES game. And I just thought, oh, that's kind of neat. I've always, that'd be a cool little subsect of games to perhaps start rounding up, so nice to get that. And in that same vein, that's why I got this. Frogger. Frogger, as it turns out, is the last North American Super Nintendo game. And the best part about both of them is they're not worth anything. They're both really cheap games. I mean, with Frogger, you kind of would expect it, but with Wario's Woods, you'd think that was a Nintendo IP, etc. You would think it would maybe have some value, but it really doesn't. So it's nice to be able to get both of those off the list. Then, no big deal, Castlevania Bloodlines, whatever. I didn't think I'd be getting a reproduction of it, so... No, actually, the deal with this was I already had the loose cart, but one guy was selling just the case. So it's not complete, obviously, because he was selling the case. I already had the loose cart. I'm missing the manual, but it is cool to get that much closer. It definitely ups the value of the package overall, so definitely awesome to have that. Now, also picked up a bunch of GameCube. I knocked it out of the park with fucking GameCube, dude. Oh man, I kicked ass. See, I'm starting to get more towards, when it comes to the GameCube, I'm like to focus on games that were not available on the original Xbox. Like, that's the big qualifier. And there's not that many of them. I mean, it's a lot, but relatively speaking, it's not. I think it's something like 150 titles, something like that, which sounds like a lot, because it is, but when you think about how many games actually exist on the platform, that's not that many. So I started chipping away at that. Not saying I'm going to go for all that, but I mean, it's good to know which ones to pick up and which ones not to. But anyway, point is, I got quite a couple of solid ones here. Definitely some of the harder ones to pick up. First up, Chaos Field. Again, like Under Defeat, this is a shmup that was originally released on the Dreamcast in Japan. Also a pretty cool game, but in North America, it got a GameCube release. Usually goes for like 40 bucks. I got mine for 20, so pretty good deal there. Chibi Robo. This is originally a GameCube game. I think more people now associate it with, there's a newer 3DS game that came with an amiibo and stuff, but there actually was a GameCube game originally. That's where it starts out. This game is kind of depreciated. There was a time, not too long ago, where this was like an $80 game. I got mine for 40. It usually averages about like 60 now, so I still got a pretty good deal on it. This was probably the deal of the day. This came from one of those booths. I'm sure you've noticed them if you ever go to swaps or anything like this, but there's always somebody who has tons and tons of inventory and does not put prices on anything. I hate that. I hate that. I mean, I understand why it's tedious and why they don't want to, but damn do I hate that, because I just don't want to be put in the situation of having to ask and all that shit. I like to be able to look and make a decision, But this guy, sometimes when that's the situation, you can come out ahead, and I definitely did in this case. Baten Kaitos Origins, GameCube. Generally about a $60 to $70 game. When I pulled it out of the stack and I asked, what do you want for it? He just kind of went, 20? I didn't hesitate. I gave the man $20 and I moved on. So yeah, definitely deal of the day right there. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Now, this one was a gift. I was just sitting at my table, and at one point, the guy who runs the table across from me, his name is Chuck. He just walks over to me when he had a minute, and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to thank you again for coming out to the convention. It was really cool of you to be here and all that." And I was like, "Of course, happy to be." And he's like, "I got you something," and I was like, "No, don't. You didn't have to give me anything." He's like, "Nope, this is for you." And he puts this thing down on the table. And I look at it, and I'm like, "Dude, like this thing's way too valuable. You can't give this to me." And we actually, we talked for a couple of minutes about like this. Are you sure? Because you really shouldn't, etc. And ultimately, he was like, "This is for you. I got this for you. This is yours." I said, okay. And I said, thank you, and I accepted. It is a sealed copy of Illbleed for the Dreamcast. Do yourself a favor, look this up on eBay and and find out how much it's worth. This is not something you're supposed to just give somebody. But nevertheless, Chuck, thank you very much. That was very, very nice of you. So that'll about do it, except for one just little other thing, one little item I happen to pick up that happens to be either the greatest or the dumbest decision I have ever made when it comes to a pickup, but I bought this thing. And now I never have to think about it again. But here we go. This is something special. Pokemon box for the GameCube. Have you never heard of this? Because I wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't. Pokemon box is one of the most odd releases I've ever heard of. Certainly the oddest in the GameCube library. Now if you're sitting there going, I'm a huge Pokemon fan, I've never heard of this. How is that possible? What's the deal? Tell me, give me information. Or if you have heard of Pokemon box and you're wondering why mine actually has a box, well, okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to be upfront with you guys. I'm not really a Pokemon fan. I never was. I've never had anything against it, certainly. It never got into it. It never did anything for me. But this release is, so I can't tell you much about it as a game, but I can tell you a lot about it as a release. Now, as it turns out, it's not really a game. It's more like application software. Now, the deal with Pokemon Box was that you would basically run the software on your GameCube, and it would connect to your Game Boy Advance through a link cable. And then in the Game Boy Advance, you put in the various Game Boy Pokemon games, and you could use it to basically manage your Pokemon. Like, that was the idea. It might have other like gameplay functionality to it. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's essentially what its primary purpose was. And if you're still thinking like, okay, cool, but like, why have I never seen this before? Why don't I have this? I thought I had all the Pokemon games, etc. Well, what's the deal? Typical Nintendo. In idiotic, true Nintendo fashion. The release for this thing is just absolutely ridiculous. It was released in Japan widely, naturally. In Europe, as far as I can tell, it was never released. And in North America, well, it wasn't released in Canada at all. And in the United States, my country, it was only released in one store. And I don't mean one chain. I don't mean like it was exclusive to Best Buy or GameStop or something. I mean literally one store. Nintendo World in New York City. It's the only city in all of the United States to sell this. Go figure. I don't know why. But yeah, as a result, it's extremely hard to find. And so much so that if you go ahead and look this up right now, you will see a lot of listings that are totally incomplete, but they claim to be complete. And I don't think they're lying to you. I think they just don't know any better because there's not much information on this thing. Because when it retailed at just Nintendo World for $100 US. And yeah, not that many people bought it. But so anybody who did, it was usually going to be for kids and stuff. So a lot of the kids discarded all the components to it. So a lot of people think when it has just the game case, which I'll show you here. This is the game case, like that. When most people see it this way, they just assume it must be complete. Because there are no other GameCube games that do this, really. But no, what you'll never see is this box. Like I looked on eBay, there was like one guy who had it. Now granted, this box has seen better days. This box is not in good condition. But it does have the box. It also includes the Game Boy link cable, which is nice. And on top of that, it has the manual and it has its own exclusive memory card. They almost never have this. This memory card is sapphire blue and ruby red. Like you just switch it from side to side with two different colors. So overall, it is complete. Again, the box is not in the best of shape, though the manual is flawless. But yeah. So definitely cool to have that off of the GameCube list. This required a lot of coaxing, man. Fucking Jake, guy, dude who's helping run the convention, man. He pushed me into this one. But yeah, so I got this off the list. Very happy about that. Good luck to Pokemon fanatics. I know a lot of you exist out there, and now that you know about it, you know where to look and you know to find it and what condition you should do, what condition you should try to get in. And if you care about the box, good luck, man. Like, there are so few of them out there. So yeah, I hope that people who want this game can find this game. But yeah, definitely cool to have that. So that'll conclude the pickups I got from the Missouri Game Con. Again, I want to thank everyone who ran the Missouri Game Con for bringing me down there. I also really want to thank all the people who came out to meet me at the con. That was awesome. I signed a bunch of autographs on, you know, Dreamcast and copies of Shenmue and just whatever, all sorts of stuff. One guy had me sign his shirt while he was wearing it. That was a little weird, but it was okay. But yeah, it was. I really had a good time. I really hope I get to go back again next year. I hope a lot of you guys will show up for that too. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.